I'm Amber Jones, Research Engineer at Utah State University and Data Manager of the iUTAH project. This is another in our series of tutorials describing HydroShare. This tutorial will focus on sharing and publication of data and model resources in HydroShare. We'll assume that you are familiar with creating and editing resources in HydroShare. If not, check out our related tutorial. By default, the sharing status of new resources in HydroShare is private. HydroShare provides the ability to have very granular control over who can access resources. You can keep your resources private, you can share them publicly for anyone to access, or you can share them with individual HydroShare users or user groups with specific permissions levels. Furthermore, when you have finished your work and you are ready to formally publish your resource, HydroShare enables you to do so and will register a formal, citable digital object identifier, also known as a DOI, for your resource. Let's clarify the difference between public and published in the HydroShare context. This is also documented on the HydroShare help pages. A public resource can be discovered and the files can be accessed by anyone. The resource may not be final, may be subject to change, and could be deleted, and is not considered to be published. On the other hand, when an author determines that a resource is finalized, the resource can be formally published. Published resources receive formal DOIs, and users can no longer modify their content or metadata descriptions. Published resources can be discovered and accessed by the public. Similarly, there is a difference between sharing a resource and publishing a resource in HydroShare. Sharing gives another HydroShare user, user group, or the public the ability to access the content and metadata description of a resource. Shared resources may still be private when shared only with individual users or groups. Publishing is the act of formally publishing a resource, which is very much like publishing a research paper. Once published, the resource can no longer be changed and has a permanent, citable DOI. HydroShare permits granular control over access to a resource. So between the two extremes of private and public, there are several options for sharing. The sharing status can be set to public, discoverable, or private. Public means that anyone in HydroShare can discover and access the resource. Discoverable means that anyone in HydroShare can discover the resource, but only users with permission can access the content files. Private means that only HydroShare users with specific permission can discover and access the resource. Sharing is set on the resource metadata page. When editing your resource, click on Public to make it accessible to anyone. Choose Discoverable to make the metadata available in search and discovery, but to keep the data files restricted. Furthermore, there is also a checkbox for Shareable. If this box is selected, any user with access to the resource can share the resource with other users to the degree that they themselves have access. So, if I make the resource shareable and give you view permissions, you can grant other users permission to view the resource. There is a separate mechanism for granting specific users or groups access to the resource. At the top of the resource landing page, click on the Manage Access button, which is an arrow. In the Manage Access panel, select either the Users or Groups button and start typing a name until the HydroShare individual user or HydroShare group appears. Next, use the drop-down box to select the permission to grant to the user or group. Can View gives the user or group permission to view and access the content of the resource. Can Edit permits the user or group to view, access, and also edit the content of the resource. Is Owner gives the user all permissions for the resource, including control of sharing, publishing, and deleting. iUTAH is a large collaborative project using HydroShare to publish project datasets and modeling resources. iUTAH has created a group for its participants, and all iUTAH resources are shared with that group. To do this for your resource, in the Manage Access panel, select Groups and start typing iUTAH. Select the iUTAH HydroShare group and select Can View. Click on the Add button. For iUTAH, we determined that a data manager should curate project resources. To do this, we assign ownership permissions to the iUTAH data manager. For your resource, select User and start typing iUTAH. Select the iUTAH data manager and select Is Owner. Click on the Add button. The Can Edit button is useful for permitting multiple collaborators to edit a resource. Frequent collaborators may be associated together in a group as well. The Manage Access panel shows which users or groups have access to the resource. We've covered sharing resources publicly and with other HydroShare users or groups. Let's discuss how to formally publish a resource. You should consider publishing a resource the same as publishing a research paper. Once published, you can no longer change a resource's content or metadata description. Be sure you are ready to publish your resource before you follow these steps. To formally publish a resource, navigate to the landing page of the resource and click on the Publish button, which looks like a globe. Read through the terms of the HydroShare Data Publication Agreement, which outlines your responsibilities as resource owner and HydroShare's role as publisher. When you accept the agreement and click the Publish button, your resource will be published with a citable DOI that is issued by Quasi and HydroShare through an organization called Crossref. The DOI will be displayed in the citation block on your resource's landing page. It may take some days to register and appear on the resource landing page, so please be patient. That's all for this tutorial. We've covered the difference between sharing and publishing resources in HydroShare and shown how to share publicly, restrict sharing to specific users or groups, and how to formally publish a resource. Use these tools for collaboration on your data and modeling resources.